So, everybody, I'm excited. My brother is gracing his presence on the show, Mr. Aaron Tardy. If you don't know Aaron, his story is unlike any story I've ever heard. He can be uh, misunderstood at times, and I just wanted to give everybody a chance to kind of get to know him the way that my family knows him, and some of the struggles he's been through and the wins that he's had in his life. He's been through stuff that most people would not get through. So it's an honor for him to grace us with his presence. So we're just gonna have a conversation, like we do on a regular basis, and we're just glad that you guys can join us on this journey. So, Aaron, how you feeling? How you feeling? The mic good? We good?
Yeah, I think mine was kind of turning that way.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
You know. Man, I'm cool. Long week at work with classes starting this past week, so stuff was just pretty rough for.
So let them know what do you do?
Okay. So I'm Aaron Tardy, 30 years old. I work at Lakeland College as a digital media specialist. I've been there last 8 years. I'm just kind of, a person that just kind of sticks to himself and don't really like the spotlight too much. So doing this interview is kind of something that's like out of my comfort zone.
Right. And that's where I tell people all the time, that's where our growth is when we step into uncomfortable situations. The first time, it's difficult, but it gets easier and easier. And that's how we grow to the point where, we're no longer uncomfortable in that situation. And then we can take on another situation. So, again, I'm just happy that he's here. So you're not from this area originally?
No, not from this area at all. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I grew up in Inglewood. That's the neighborhood in Chicago, inner city neighborhood in Chicago. And it's spelled ENGLE.
Not to be mistaken
with ING.
Because Cali be trying to take our shine a little bit.
So, it's a different experience. So I'll take you back a little bit.
Yeah.
Born and raised in Chicago. I lived there from the time I was born to the time I was 15. My parents passed when I was younger. So my father passed when I was 2 years old.
Okay.
I didn't get to know him too well. I never really heard any negative things my mom said about him. They were married before he passed.
Yeah.
And then my mom passed when I was 15.
Okay.
So that forced me and my siblings to move from Chicago to Danville, Illinois.
Now, how many siblings do you have?
I have 5 siblings, 5 brothers.
5 brothers.
Yeah. So altogether 6 of us.
Okay.
So, but my oldest brother is 10 years older than I am.
Okay.
So he was already out of the house and he was married and had a family when our mom passed. So, and not to go into too much of their business,
right. Yeah.
A couple of my brothers, we don't all share the same father. So I know a few of my brothers, they don't have communication with their fathers too much. So
Gotcha.
From my point of view in my life, I never got to know him. He was always there. I asked my oldest brother, be like, hey, how was he? What did he, do? How, things like that. And he's like, man, he was always a cool dude. He went to work, came home, took care of the family.
Yeah.
He was a military vet. So just hearing that.
And he was in the Army?
He was in the Army. Yeah. I think he served Vietnam.
Yeah, that would have been that time frame.
Yeah. So just always heard positive stuff about him. My mom never spoke ill of him.
Good.
And I remember like when I was like younger, like teenager and going through puberty and stuff like that, and her and I get into it. She always kind of remind me like, well, your father used to just hold you and just kind of be comforting.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
So after my father passed when I was 2 years old, so that was like 94. My mom passed when I was 15, and that was 2007.
Okay.
And so that forced me and my brothers to go live with my auntie in Danville, who's also from Chicago, but she was in the military as well.
Right. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
So she took me and 4 other brothers in, on top of being in the military, and then on top of that, having her own kids at home.
Whoa.
It was 8 of us in the house at one point.
Yeah.
So, that was
And just her, she was married.
Just her.
her.
I think she was married previously, but that was years prior. So at the time she wasn't, and just took us all in and just kind of took the weight of the world, and everybody's life just flipped upside down. So.
Yeah. So how was losing both parents? Like, what's the trickle down effect to like today from losing both parents? How did it shape your life from 15 to now?
I think as far as the now, you just become pretty numb to it. You know it's been so long that they've been gone, and just trying to figure out life without them, and so you don't really, for me at least, I don't really get too bent out of shape. But I think being so young, I just didn't process it until I got older. When I moved, I'll back up in the story real quick.
Yeah.
So when I lived with my auntie, my family, everything, stayed with them about 2 years almost. And me and my auntie, things were rough for everybody. And so her and I had a falling out. And so I ended up.
What age was that?
That was 16.
Okay.
16. And then I moved to Mattoon 2 days after I turned 17.
Okay.
And I moved to Mattoon. I ended up living in a group home with people who had behavior disabilities. I didn't have one.
Right.
But it was just a time people need to go their separate ways. And that was just probably like the next best thing for me.
Yeah.
So I ended up moving to a group home 2 days after I turned 17 in Mattoon. Stayed there almost 2 years. It might have been 3 years, I want to say. So I was like I was a little bit older in high school. So I was a sophomore when I moved to Mattoon. So sophomore through my first semester of college, I ended up living in 2 different group homes. The first group home closed down because they lost their license due to some nonsense.
Right.
So that was my senior year of high school. So I moved again to Charleston and lived in another group home. And so just, adapted and just tried my best to stay on track with life and not get in too much trouble.
Yeah. When we met, I had an idea of what you had been through just from like people saying it, but the way that you handled it, like when I met you, you was just solid and a cool brother. It wasn't, I didn't see any type of like, I don't know how else to say this, but like any type of like victim mentality, where some people's bad situations make them feel self-pity. I never ever got that from you, even to this day. Even through like holidays, the holidays could be rough without your parents. One of my best friends lost his mom and then his dad within a year. And so the holidays have been hard for him, as they should. But I never saw any type of just falling back and saying, I'm out the game now. You know what I mean? I never saw you ever lose your drive at all. Now I know I'm not there at every moment, but from what I've seen, I've always just seen you go forward.
It's just, I think, a couple of things. My auntie, military lady, and she, pretty much instilled fear in us, pretty much to quit, not quit. And she showed up actually this past summer, like unannounced in Charleston. And I'm like, scared.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, she showed up, and I was like nervous. I'm talking to my boys. I'm just like, yo, I'm still scared. Like I might be a little bit taller than her, but I'm still scared.
Now I remember your brother came to church. Was it that weekend?
Yeah, it was that weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and like I'm just like, yo, my auntie here, like
that 3-piece suit you had on was fly too. I didn't get a chance to tell you that suit was cold, but
so just her being, hard on me, that tough love, and that tough love was her letting me go when we had our little falling out and me coming to this area. Her and I had multiple talks about, how she felt and everything about that, but that was just that tough love. And then also when I moved here, and I think we're going to talk about this a little bit later on, I had a great support system coming here. So, and then also me looking at my environment, looking at a group home and looking at the kids that I lived with and knowing like none of them are really going to be able to live on their own.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that kept me humbled and I had to prove something. Like I didn't want to live there forever. You know what I'm saying? So I had to prove every day that like, all right, I can be independent. I can live on my own. So I think that's where that drive comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in you. And that's, that's a solid quality. Like we live in a day and age where not harsh discipline, but strong structured discipline is kind of looked down upon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You got a lot of people who are handheld.
Yeah.
There's a guy at work that I forget the saying, but something along the lines of hard times make tough people. And soft times make soft people. Something like that. Yeah. So when I told him my story when I first met him a few years ago, that was like one of the very first conversations we had.
And that's odd for you. Like, correct me if I'm wrong at any time, but it takes you a minute to, okay, I'm gonna let you in.
Yeah, because man, I'm just not a people person really. You might like at work, I can deal with people on a level of like, we have a goal here, we need to get it done.
Right.
But as far as my personal life, man, I don't rock with too many people.
Right.
Opening up, like doing this interview right here, I know I'm gonna kick myself later.
Like, no. I hope that because you look really comfortable. I hope this leads to more conversations. We from the same place. We think alike. We're both in the same predominantly white community, so we share some of the same feelings and emotions and things that we go through. I think it's dynamite. Now let's back up though. We're both from Chicago, so I remember a couple bad things happening growing up.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we was having fun. We may have ran around some unsafe places from time to time, but we had a lot of fun growing up.
Yeah, and I think too, like we moved at different times of our lives, like different ages, right? When did you move down here?
I was 28.
You were 28. Okay, so I moved down here.
I was 27. Yeah,
27. So like pretty much 10 years apart. When we moved down.
Yeah.
So I looking back now, I'm a little bit older. As a kid, you don't really see how good or how bad you have it.
Facts.
That's your parents taking care of stuff, like whoever you were raised by. Yeah. So then you get older and you get on your own, you get to pay bills and stuff like that. Then you kind of
you realize,
it's kind of it's some bad areas. It's just like anywhere else, like here in Charleston. Like I know there's places I can go, people I can rock with, and then vice versa. Like
I'm gonna stay from over there.
Yeah. So that's how it is. Like I hear people ask like where I'm from, like Chicago, and then I always almost hear it's dangerous in Chicago. But it's like, have you been there? Do you know the areas that are dangerous?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like every day you're gonna can't go out your house and get robbed. You know what I'm saying?
I had a conversation with somebody a couple of days ago about that. Like, if you're not Chicago, or not just Chicago, if you're not big city, then the thought of big city is scary. And the media pushes a lot of propaganda about big cities. They do us in big cities the same way they do people from rural areas, right? They teach people from rural areas that as gangsters in the big city and you'll get robbed and shot and while you're going to the Shed Aquarium.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
That's just the most irritating thing.
And then in the city, we're taught like rural people, like farmers are hillbillies. Then we come here, the farmers I know really getting it,
Yeah.
and are some really dope, highly intelligent people.
I definitely, when I moved here, like, I remember it was definitely a change, like, you know, culture change.
Absolutely.
But once I got to know a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
about it, then I was like, man, I have, you know, respect for farmers and people who in the agriculture field and things like that. So
Yeah.
it's not something I'm interested in, but stuff that they study.
Absolutely.
Like, that's pretty dope.
But where we from, somebody, so me and Trey watched the movie called Life last night. Life, classic, Eddie Murphy, Martin, and they got life in prison.
Oh, yeah.
And so they had to go down to Mississippi or somewhere and get some moonshine and drive it back to Spanky Johnson. And so they went to a club down there called Natchez Under the Hill. And all Eddie Murphy kept calling people was farmers. And he was making it seem like they were slow. And that's what the media does to farmers. And it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
But they do that same thing to people from rural areas are hillbillies, and people from the city are gangsters. Now there's some of something everywhere. I know some hillbillies in the city. They just aren't called hillbillies. Right. But it's the same type of propaganda that's set up to do what? Divide us. To divide us. You think bad about me and I think bad about you based on some opinions of some people who don't care about us.
Right.
Doesn't make sense. But did you have fun growing up in Chicago?
Yeah,
y'all was running around like 47th, right?
Yeah, so yeah, we grew up on 57th and Winchester. 47th to Marshfield is where I went to school. There was this school called Cesar Chavez. That's the last school I was at. For the most part, early on in the life, we were kind of, it was rough. Like after my father passed, my mom ended up falling to drugs, but got us back, and that's like a story for another day.
I'm sure she went through a depression.
So, oh man, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, like the earliest memory was just, you know, just, and that's again, like
for sure. Yeah.
For another day. Mm-hmm. But just moving around, honestly. But my brothers, they went to a school up the street where I went to a school who dedicated more. It was more of like a disability school, centered around disability.
So you haven't spoke on that,
right? Well, right.
So tell everybody a little bit about what that means.
Yeah. So I can touch on it. So I was born spina bifida. Spina bifida is a birth defect that happens when the spinal cord does not properly form.
Okay.
When a baby is developing.
Okay.
The spinal cord and tissues don't close properly, so there's an opening somewhere on the spine.
Okay.
And that can be, you know, your sacrum all the way up to your thoracic.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm saying all that.
Thoracic is where it goes actually into your brain, right? We're not doctors.
Yeah. So,
sorry.
So I think it goes cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum.
Okay.
I think that's how
you know more than me. I'll tell you.
So I know for me, after I was born, I had to have that opening closed up.
Yeah.
So and so I, you know, deal with life differently. I know I saw there's 3 types of spina bifida. There's spina bifida occulta, which is the mildest form, which has none to very little symptoms of visible disability. Spina bifida meningocele, which has a small opening on the back, which the spinal fluid nerves can be damaged. So that's like the second.
Okay, so that's like tier 2.
Tier 2, right.
Got you.
And then there's a myelomeningocele, and that's one that I had, which the spinal cord and nerves are damaged. So when people see me walk, because I've had, you know, nerve damage and things like that. So nothing that I've done, nothing my mom really did to. Right. It just happens. You know, there's 42.5% of people are with spina bifida are wheelchair users. So I'm just really so humbled and thankful that I'm not using the wheelchair.
Yeah. And if y'all don't know, like, I don't know how else to say it, but Aaron doesn't miss a beat. Like, we've been in basketball leagues, baseball, softball leagues. Like, it's for me, I don't even notice that he walks the way he walks, because I've done so many things with him. I've known him so long. I don't even really notice it because we all walk how we walk. And it's just kind of how he walks. But let's back up for a second. So your aunt's like, I need you to be a man. I'm going to have you go here. And you go to the group home. At the group home, do you have like a guardian or a social worker, like a direct contact person that was here to watch over you?
Yeah, so in the group home, we had the staff members came in, they, helped out with the residents. They, had to wash them, bathe them, whatever, help feed them, depending on how independent they were.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had, the house managers or caseworkers who you can contact.
Okay.
But then if something did happen to the resident, then the caseworkers needed like a family member or a guardian or something like that. And for me, I got super lucky, super blessed with, there was this teacher at Mattoon High School who I was on her IEP caseload when I moved to Mattoon. And like I said, man, she got to know me. She talked to me and I told her my story, and she just accepted me from day one, her and her family. And
great people.
I mean, yeah, on both sides, her family side and her husband's family side. I actually just had dinner with her mom 2 days ago.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I call her grandma. So, but no, man, it's
great,
just
great. You gonna shout them out, or you gonna keep them back?
I'm gonna keep them back. All
right, yeah. Y'all know who y'all are. So, we love y'all.
I, when I talk to them or I go visit them, I get off the phone or whatever. I'm like, yo, how did I get so lucky to be with this family? So,
because God is good, and that's the thing. You see what I'm saying? Like, He doesn't look at things from the perspective of, oh, all this stuff has been done. I've been through all this stuff in my life. He looks at things like, I'm just happy I'm not wheelchair bound. I'm just happy that God gave me that family. That thought process is why he succeeds in life. And it doesn't matter, his parents passed, he has spina bifida. We can all have that mindset of, no matter what, we're just gonna keep on pushing. We're gonna keep making people smile. We're gonna keep on going forward. And he's just stayed solid like that. So
a side note, real quick. I'm
mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
I remember I think it was my junior year or senior year. It might have been junior year, like when I was still, because I came in the middle of sophomore year. Mm-hmm. And then I was getting to meet, different people, and there was a lot of coaches at the high school helped me out,
mm-hmm.
great mentors. One of my best mentors I've had was one of the head coach. He's a head coach for the football team. But that winter when I came to Mattoon, I got a couple of presents. And do you remember the movie The Blind Side? Sandra Bullock?
Mm-hmm. Michael Orr.
Yeah. I think I got that movie 3 times.
So that's you and sister. Yeah.
I think it took me like 3 or 4 years of watching because I kind of was a little irritated. I was like,
right. Don't put me in a box.
Right. So black kid gets basically adopted by a white family.
Yeah.
So I got that movie like 3 times. I remember, and I was just like, but yeah, I think that was pretty funny. But I did watch it. But no, man, that family is just amazing. And I don't know how I ended up, with them. So
well, good. Now, forgive our ignorance. What is the term that you believe people should use? Is it disability? Is it disabled? Because does that mean that I'm unable? You know what I mean? Like the political correctness. What is the word that can be used that's not offensive but speaks to the point? Or is it a word and just forget all of it?
I'll say for me, I'm human. Like, you can say disabled, physically disabled, but I'm human first and foremost, you know what I mean? So like disability isn't my identity. We live in a world where people, one little thing is
slap a label.
Yeah. So for me, I'm Aaron. I'm human. I'm a man. So yes, I can, mention my disability. Like, yeah, I have a physical disability, but it's not my identity. You feel what I'm saying? So,
And it's crazy too, because Aaron's the best dancer that I know. And I know some dancers. I mean, it's just one of those things. He's like an anomaly. Is if you get to know, and I'm gonna have Aaron on the show a lot. We're gonna talk about things. It's my brother. He's gonna just amaze you and amaze you and amaze you. Do you ever feel any self-pity? Do you ever have your moments?
I do. And if I can be real a little bit, like,
Yeah.
I know the past like 2-3 years, like I had like self-pity moments. I had this one homegirl that I used to talk to a lot, and it would be moments that I'll call her like, yo, I'm going through this. And it was basically self-pity. I'm human. So we all go through that.
Yeah.
But, I try not to show it as much and just go with the flow, man. March to the beat of my own drum. And
Yeah.
I don't necessarily sit around every day saying like, why me? I more so think of like, why not me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I've gone this far. So, and something that I do to humble myself a little bit more is I watch and follow people on YouTube, on social media, people who use mobility aids and deal with life differently. Not to make myself feel better, but just saying like, if they can get through it, I can get through it.
As motivation. Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, I go through self-pity moments, but
I'll do too. I think I probably have more of them than you. No, I mean, that's just something, but you don't, I've never noticed it. So it's not anything, extracurricular or over the top. Do you ever feel unfairly mistreated or unfairly judged?
Oh yeah, I do. Man, I work on a community college campus, and there's a lot of people who don't know or have been around people who don't look like them physically, whether that's race or whether that's disability. So I know, I've lived long enough. I know when someone's staring at me and then whispering to the next person, and then I walk by, then they quiet like crickets. So yeah, I notice it, but I don't necessarily go out my way to give my energy to them. It's just dumb at this point. Like, people live life differently, and why make someone else's life harder by judging them for something that you have no understanding about?
No understanding at all. No understanding at all. Your coworkers and everybody who knows you, there's never been no issues.
Oh no, man! Like, over the past like 2 years, I got some really dope coworkers. People who are a lot younger, but at the same time, like, they just get it. They understand, like, hey, people come from different areas of life. They go through different things. They go through things that they can't control. I couldn't control my spinal foot. I did nothing to have this. So, coworkers, close friends, yeah, absolutely. One thing that I feel though, like, and it hasn't happened as much because I don't really surround myself around, but there used to be this time where people would sort of baby me or come to my defense and trying to make themselves feel good because
and you can feel that from a mile away. Yeah. I get that. And I know sometimes you probably wanted to be like, hey y'all, I'm straight, I can handle this. And but yeah, when somebody's coming with that phony energy, that's like this. Like when somebody is at Walmart and notices a single mom behind them.
Yeah.
And her bill is $63. And they whip out their iPhone and film themselves paying for. No, that you did that for you.
Exactly.
You got, when she said thank you, that's your reward. And that energy you can feel from a mile away.
Right. And two, we're having disability in society is kind of looked at as a negative. It's looked at as weak and less than. So people feel the inspiration to help the less than. And
right.
Like I'm doing this, man. I'm 30 years old, so I've dealt with this, longer than I know a lot of these people here in this area. So,
You're 30. You've had apartments and cars at 17 and 18. Like there's 30-year-olds who haven't got to that there.
And
you know,
I'm gonna tell you this too. Like my homie,
I was there.
my homie told me this. He cut my hair. We have these conversations a lot. Like, you know, you sit, you know how
yeah. They're
like
therapists.
Right. And he was like, telling him my story. He's like, yo, man, you got everything that I didn't have like when I was, you know, your age. So, you know, not to toot my own horn, but like, you know, he's like, yo, man, you doing it. So forget everybody who
facts,
you know, who judging me and making me feel less.
Yeah, absolutely. So like on a daily basis, things that somebody who's ignorant to it like me, what are some of the trials that you go through on a daily basis that we don't know about?
For one, you know, just blocking out the negativity, the people who judge me and treat me differently or want to look and stare at me because I walk differently.
And that's every day. Somebody looks every day.
I work on a community college. You know, I'm kind of there like 5 days a week.
Yeah, sometimes more. Yeah.
I go to Walmart. You know, I'm trying to just go get what I got to get, but there's people just staring or like, you know what I'm saying? People don't know how to be normal, man. Like,
right.
Like they see me. I remember I was walking from the parking lot into work, and there's one girl. She like looks at me. They always have like this dumb look on their face. It's either like head down
or a deer in headlights, like you caught them looking.
Yeah, and then they look down, try to cover up their smirk, or they like look forward and like smile, like just so. That's one thing.
And that's daily.
That's daily.
7 days a week. Yeah, gotcha. Unless you stay in the house.
Right, and which I try to do now.
Right.
And then second thing too is myself. My daily challenge is if I walk past, you know, a glass or, you know, a mirror, see my reflection, I see the way I walk and I don't necessarily like it. So it's like the whole body image thing. And I know like with women, like it's highlighted a lot more about body image and stuff like that. But
we have issues too.
We have issues too.
Yeah.
And then
we have issues too.
You throw disability on top of that, you don't look like everyone else, run like everybody else. And so that messes with you. So I try to look in, you know, reflection, but sometimes I just kind of put my head down and walk. So that's a mental hurdle that's never gonna go away. Yeah. So
yeah.
But
yeah,
that's
well, you handle it. You handle it well. You handle it well. A lot better than most of us would. A lot better than most of us would. And I know it's hard. Just like being a man in general is hard. Do you think though sometimes like it's like some of it is perception from your lens and really the person may have not even been thinking about the way that you're walking or and then I'm gonna ask you something else and I don't think it's on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I say a little bit of both because I can give you an example of one day. It was I was at work moving some stuff and maybe she kind of felt pity for me, but I ended up knocking a couple boxes over there I needed. They were empty boxes. I was messing with some equipment. And so I remember like walking, you know, with the stuff and she just like stared at me and I'm just already annoyed. Like, I'm like, oh, here we go. So, man, I'm at work, so I can't really like
right.
So,
you got to be professional.
Right, exactly. But I knocked the box over. So, and then I didn't expect her to come up and help me. She's like, oh, here you go. And so then like my heart got lighter and I was like, okay, well, thank you. But for the most part, man, I don't think it's perception. You know, it's not my perception because, you know, I'm not dumb. I've lived long enough.
Right.
To notice when someone acts a certain way around certain people in certain situations. So, you know, it's not perceived and I'm not like making this up. You know, it's the whole talking, you know, whispering, and then when I come around and they quiet.
Yeah.
So I kind of do like this. So example of like, you're black, I'm black. Think of times where you were in a situation and you felt like, all right, somebody was being racist towards you or treated you different because of color of your skin. And then you want like a white person or somebody who's not black come up to you and like, oh no, you're just perceiving it the wrong way. You will be upset.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
So if you're not, if you don't have a disability, you don't.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Right.
So
right. Well put. Well put. Yeah. I know what Rick was thinking.
Exactly. So it's just so dismissive when I kind of hear that.
Yeah.
Or you're perceiving it the wrong way. And like, no, man, you don't live my life. You're not disabled. You don't have that lens, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That lens. Heather and I, my wife, we talk about lenses a lot. Because like if we get into it about something, it's usually a misunderstanding because we see things from two completely different lenses.
Yeah.
So what affects her doesn't affect me the same, and vice versa. We have to be careful when we don't think about other people's lenses. When we don't, we're being very, very, very selfish and shallow and dismissive. Because like he said, I don't know what a Korean store owner feels like. And I go up to him and I say, no, you're just tripping. People don't look at you like that. Yes, they do. Like, I don't know. Now, tell us a little bit before we get out of here. Love life, women. How do you navigate, around love and women? Do you feel behind the 8 ball, or do you feel like you get enough action, so to speak? And I know, like, I've seen plenty pretty women around you over the years. But just because I see that don't mean that feels like that to you.
Right.
So I don't want to, be dismissive. So tell us a little bit about like how you go about that. Are you looking for somebody? Are you not? Are you chilling? What happens?
Man, that's always gonna be tricky for men in general. Like women, they have more options than men have options.
Facts.
Right? So putting that, having that, and then being in an area where it's predominantly white, and I'm a darker skinned guy, I feel like light skinned people are in. You know what I mean? So that's the thing when you got Michael B. Jordans and stuff like that. So and then on top
we
of
got to
that,
get our push-ups.
We got to get push-ups. I've been back in the gym.
Yeah.
But it's challenging, and then putting on top of having a disability, and then also I'm not the tallest person in the world, so that's a challenge in itself. So
women like short guys, though.
Yeah, that's not what
it ain't in no more.
Yeah, I don't think it's
so. It's tall, light-skinned dudes now.
Gosh,
man, so we out of there.
We out.
Trey, he in.
Yeah. He always been no, but it's definitely challenging. I don't think anymore. I don't think I'm behind the 8 ball. I feel like the past, my late 20s. Now I'm in my early 30s. Like I'm just cool with how I am. Like if it happens, it happens. I was talking to a guy at work, a mature guy. He's in his field. He's happily married, but he's so raw and real about life. And a few months ago, I was riding with him. We were doing a project, and he gives me, advice and stuff like that. So basically, again, like he said, he's real. He said, this is the way life is gonna go pretty much. Between like 28 and like 33, 34, it's gonna be tough for you because the women that you did want, they're in relationships right now. They're married, they got kids, and it's not all of them. It's not
right. I get it. Yeah.
It's gonna fall apart pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Then now they're single moms, and now they're like, oh, well, I need someone to take care of me. And then me, no kids, I'm living my life without.
Yeah.
So that's probably how it's gonna happen. But for me, I think like I have preferences. You know what I mean? Like I got my own.
Yeah.
I work. I have no kids. So I don't want to say I shoot too high. I'm just looking for somebody who has the same
equally yoked on the same level in life.
And I know I got not somebody I'm talking to, but I know somebody that has like a crush on me or whatever, and her friends know, they talk to me and stuff like that, and I'm just like, wow, that's not really my person. That's not what I want. I mean, she got that going on, got this going on. So, and I'm not discriminating against single moms.
Yeah.
That's not my preference, because people can say the same thing about me. oh, he has a disability. That's not my preference.
Preference.
So it's just, right now I'm living life and, just trying to get my money up and live my life and stay out of trouble.
Yeah, yeah. Well, listen, man, thank you for coming. This won't be the end.
No.
We got so much to talk about. Go ahead.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Or I'll get the floor later.
The floor is yours.
Oh,
have it. Yeah.
All right. I just got this one thing. I guess a couple of things. Like people who don't know what to say to me, how to interact with me, I find that very idiotic.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just human. Like, if you got a question, you're curious about me, ask me. Like, I feel like in 2023, we all know what's appropriate to say, what's not appropriate to say.
1000%.
As far as race, gender,
absolutely.
So, just ask away, pull me aside, like, yo, hey, what's your name? I seen you around. There's a quote that I saw a few years ago that I want to talk about. I believe the lady who helped me out, not to love you. I believe she posted this. I'm not sure where originally it came from, but it says a child with disabilities often spends hours being taught how to interact with others. But why don't we spend time teaching those without disabilities how to interact with them?
100.
So it's just like, man, just come up to me, say what's up, treat me like a human being. So
you hear that? Come up, ask questions like a human being. Kids are honest, right? Yeah. Kid will be like, somebody has a port wine birthmark on their face. A kid not being rude will be like, hey, what's that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
You just have to accept that's a kid. But if you're an adult, there's a way to go about it.
There's a way to go about it. There's a way to go to ask your question in an adult way.
Yeah.
And then we won't be ignorant. Just like we tell people all the time. You don't know nobody Black from the city to ask a question, ask us.
Exactly.
Ask us. Don't assume. Just ask, and boom, we'll give you the correct response. But yeah. Thanks for that. Just ask.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to add before we conclude that you want the people to know about you?
Tardy Sauce, I'm out.
There it is. Thank you, man. Love you. We out. Peace.